Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room, the market.
Welcome to the market, the NFL's one-stop shop for all positions related to the field. We're in day 2 of the market, free agency. I tell you what, let me first give you the disclaimer. There are no returns. Buyer beware. Know the merchandise that you're getting. Because again, there is no returns at this market. You can't get your money back. And so if you don't get the production out of that player that you think that you're paying for, too bad. So be careful inking these deals with these players. And you're starting to see that with some of these teams. Now, after day 2, things start to calm down considerably. Day 2 and day 1 are the crux of free agency. And what I mean by that is, that's when you see a lot of the high-priced, flashy moves being done. After day 2, into day 3, day 4, day 3, day 4 is when things start to simmer down and the real deals begin. This is when teams start looking to go in for the kill on some bargain basement deals. Everyone was shopping at the beginning of the store. That's where all the high-priced items were. Toward the back of the store is where you get the deals. And that's where a lot of these teams are going to start moving into now. They're going to start going into the store, bypassing the high-priced merchandise, go straight to the back, and look to get some deals. And so this was the last day, really, of teams shelling out infinite amounts of money. Now they're looking to, I won't say lowball players, but they're looking to bring some players back down to earth who were thinking they were going to cash in on a huge payday. If you didn't get your money on day 1 or 2, if you're looking for a big money deal, you're probably not going to get the money that you thought you were getting on the market, because now the money is going to start drying up. Teams aren't going to be willing to open up their checkbooks and sign those big checks like they were in the first 2 days. That's when you got to get your money. If you're looking for a big money deal, you have to get your money in the first 2 days. If you don't do that, chances are, and look, there are some guys still out there that could command big paydays, but I seriously doubt it. Guys like Sean Smith, big question mark. He was supposed to be one of the top corners. I've been drooling and salivating over Sean Smith for a while now, yet I haven't heard a peep out of him. And I can't explain it. There's been no meetings. There's been no talks about him potentially liking a team or a team being a suitor for his services. There haven't been any contract talks. It's been quiet on the Sean Smith front. I don't know what's up with that, but that has been alarming to me, that no team has decided that, hey, this is the guy we want in free agency. Maybe I overvalued Sean Smith. Look, I don't care what everybody else wants. I still want Sean Smith. Now, I know my team can't afford him. Some team will get Sean Smith. Maybe someone's going to get him on the cheap. It looks like it at this point. Maybe he's waiting for something that may never materialize. Who knows? He could be in the same basket as Greg Jennings. How disappointing is it for Greg Jennings? And a lot of people alluded to this potentially happening, that he would be out there overvaluing himself, having teams really having to take a step back and look and assess his play on the field, his injury past, and realize that we're not going to pay you $10, $11, $12 million a year like the Dolphins paid Mike Wallace. You're not worth that to us. And the thing about Greg Jennings' game is that his game, to me, ages better than Mike Wallace's game. Now, Jennings has been in the league a little bit longer. He's not as fast. He has some injury issues in the 2012 season, which might have brought his stock down considerably. But he's a highly productive guy that when he's healthy, he's going to get you 80, 85, potentially 90 plus grabs in a season. He's going to get over 1,000 yards receiving. He's a productive receiver. And he's not a guy that relies on speed. He's crafty. He can get behind you in the secondary and make some big plays, but he's a guy that can get in and out of his breaks. He knows how to sit down in the zone. He catches the football very cleanly. He's a solid receiver. And again, guys like him, like Roddy White, like Reggie Wayne, their games age like fine wine. And so if you get Greg Jennings, you're going to get a guy that's going to be very consistent for you for the next 5 seasons. Whereas with Mike Wallace, this is a guy that he's got speed. Speed! And you can't teach speed. You can't teach speed. But when that speed starts to diminish, so does his game. But I tell you what, the Dolphins aren't looking at that factor right now. They're looking at the fact that Mike Wallace is relatively young. He's got a lot left in the tank. They're expecting him to be able to utilize that speed, get behind the secondary, catch those drag routes, and make some big plays happen out of a 5-6 yard pass. And so we're going to see how Mike Wallace fares in Miami. But the question still remains, is Greg Jennings going to have to eat some crow and go back to Green Bay? I think that's what he's trying to avoid right now. He does not want to go back to Green Bay. He put his Green Bay home up for sale. I'm pretty sure he's packed his things up. He was expecting to leave. And now all of a sudden, he might have to stay in Green Bay. And it's looking like that more and more as the days go by and he doesn't sign a deal with anyone else. It's becoming more and more likely that he's going to end up back in Green Bay. And he better hurry up, because if he keeps waiting and waiting, that $10 million offer that the Packers have extended to him might turn into 8, then gradually turn into 7. And next thing you know, he'll be signing a deal way below what he thought his market value was to begin with. So he better jump on it while the money is still there. But let's talk about guys who actually did sign in day 2 of free agency. We've talked enough about the guys who haven't signed yet. Let's talk about the guys who have signed. And there were a lot of big name free agents that were taken off the market in day 2. And to no one's surprise, there were really no big, huge surprises in day 2 like there was in day 1. And that's to be expected. You hear of guys making trips and visits, and you expect them to potentially get contract offers where they go. And so the only real surprise we've had in free agency so far was the Dannell Ellerbe signing in Miami. No one really saw that one coming. That was kind of off the grid. So in day 2, guys like Reggie Bush, Deshaun Goldson were taken off the market. LaRon Landry, a lot of guys who can fit in key roles on new teams found homes in day 2. So let's start talking about some of these guys. Let's start in Detroit. They were the most active in day 2, and they really got busy. And here was a team that came into the offseason with essentially no one under contract. So they really needed to get busy. They needed to shed some dead contracts and dead weight, free up cap space, and get busy. And that's what they did in day 2, signing 4 guys, and 4 guys of note. You look at Jason Jones. Here's a guy that, when healthy, he's a very dominant player inside at defensive tackle, long, wiry, can get in the backfield, cause havoc. Again, he needs to stay healthy, but the Lions like his upside. The Lions like his potential to come in that defense and be a rotational guy that can help them get pressure on the quarterback. And so that's a nice pickup for the Lions. He's a guy that needs to play in spells. You don't want to start Jason Jones because he gets injured so often. If you can put him in a rotational depth position and allow him to come in situational pass rushing situations, he can help you immensely, and I think that's what the Lions are looking to do with him. They also signed back Chris Houston, who had 2 of his best seasons of his career in Detroit the last 2 years when he signed that 2-year deal. So he's looking to cash in, and he finally did, and he's going to stay in Detroit. And I think that's a great move for the Lions, who are looking to help bolster that cornerback situation that they have, because they need help at the cornerback position. They're going to draft a corner in the draft. Looks like D. Milner still is their guy right now, but D. Milner's stock continues to rise. So 5 might not be a spot where you can get your hands on D. Milner. We'll see, but right now, that was a great move for the Lions, getting back Chris Houston. You look at their huge signing of the day, and that was Reggie Bush. And this is a team that lacks that punch, that lacks that fire, that flash from the running back position. Ever since Javid Best hit the shelf with that concussion, they haven't been able to solve that Rubik's Cube of athleticism and speed at the running back position. Joique Bell and Mikel Leshoure were solid in the 2012 season. I mean, they really ran the ball very effectively. I like Joique Bell. I thought Mikel Leshoure finally was able to stay healthy and was productive. But there's no speed. There's no flash. There's no threat of a guy taking it the distance when he touches the football out of that backfield. And so now the Lions have that threat of that guy catching a ball out of the backfield, that guy taking a handoff and going 76 yards and scoring a touchdown in an instant. And you look at Megatron out there, this is going to also give him some relief because you can't just take your safety and divulge him over the top on Megatron at all times. Now, the Lions still are going to need a viable second option at receiver, but this helps him out tremendously because if Reggie Bush can start making some plays, you're going to have to be cognizant of where he is and also start paying attention to what you need to do to stop him. And that might take a little bit of attention away from Megatron. It won't take a lot because teams know, look, the offense goes as Megatron goes. Maybe Reggie Bush could come in and help them change that a little bit and really take some pressure off of him. This offense could be very dynamic for the Lions. This is what they needed. They got it done, and the Lions are looking like some players in the 2013 season because of the move they made. You also look at another move, and this was a key move for them. They need to upgrade their secondary. We saw way too much of John Wendling and other guys in that secondary at the safety position. Louis Delmas was always injured. And so they went out and got Glover Quinn from the Houston Texans. That's a huge move for the Lions. This is a young, talented safety that can make plays. He's a ball-hawking safety, very athletic, can run with a lot of tight ends in this league. That is a huge move for the Detroit Lions. And so they were active, they were busy, and these were all valued, aggressive pickups by the Detroit Lions. They were active, they got it done. They really upgraded their roster in the 2013 season on day 2 of free agency. You look at another team that upgraded their roster at the safety position. Deshaun Golston was on the private jet on his way to Tampa Bay. If you get on a private plane owned by the owner of that team, how can you not sign your name on the dotted line? If I send my private jet to come and get you, you better sign my contract. And so the Bucs got their man in Deshaun Golston. Here's a guy that's going to upgrade their secondary position, and I think it was a great move by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a team that was really putrid against the pass last season, and so they could use an upgrade at the safety position. They could use an upgrade at the cornerback position, so they still have work to do, but this was a huge step in the right direction for the Bucs, signing Deshaun Golston to a lucrative deal. And so they got their man. This is a huge move for the Buccaneers. And let's talk about another team that got their man and got a safety that can really help them. And that's the Indianapolis Colts. I've been really impressed with the Colts and what they've been able to do in this offseason. Thought they had a huge day 1. I thought they had the best day 1 of anyone else. And this move in day 2 to get LaRon Landry, to me, solidifies the fact that the Colts aren't resting on their 11-5 mark and playoff appearance in the 2012 season. They're trying to better themselves. They want to take that next step. They want to actually be a contender in the AFC, and they're making all the moves to do that. Now, they did lose Donnie Avery, which is a huge blow to that offense. I thought Donnie Avery played an integral part in them having success in the 2012 season, so they're going to have to get more weapons for Andrew Luck. But let's not forget that this defense wasn't that good in 2012, and so I think them having a defensive-minded head coach in Chuck Pagano, he wants to build this defense up and have it look more like the Baltimore defenses that he coached when he was the Ravens defensive coordinator. And so he's starting to get pieces that can help this defense turn around. And they've had a very aggressive approach to free agency. I think that the Colts are really making some good moves. A lot of people have been ridiculing some of the moves they made, giving a lot of money to Gosher Charles. Look, Gosher Charles will do one thing. He will protect Andrew Luck, whether it be by holding or by actually protecting. Either way, he won't allow Andrew Luck to be having to run for his life. He won't make Andrew Luck take a lot of senseless shots. And so I love that in a tackle. Look, if I'm going to get a 7 or 8 yard loss by my quarterback getting sacked, why not take a 10-yard holding penalty and give me that down over again? So I understand that people don't think that Gosher Charles has been consistent enough to warrant that type of money, but he is definitely an upgrade over Winston Justice and all the guys that were paraded out at right tackle for the Colts in the 2012 season that had Andrew Luck running for his life. And so that's a good move in my mind. And so I think the Colts are really doing some big things, and LaRon Landry being added to that roster really upgrades that safety position. I think he's going to be put right next to Antoine Bethea, and it's going to be a very formidable tandem back there. And now the Colts have guys at cornerback. They have safeties now. They're fixing up that front seven. They're starting to get guys that can come in and potentially get pressure on the quarterback. Look out for the Indianapolis Colts. Big move by the Colts to get LaRon Landry, 4 years, over $20 million. Huge deal for the Indianapolis Colts. And I just talked about Donnie Avery being on the move. He's now in Kansas City. I love what the Chiefs are doing, quietly putting together pieces of the puzzle that make them a serious contender in the AFC. I tell you what, if Alex Smith plays solid football like a lot of us think he can and doesn't turn it over, as he didn't do in San Francisco, look out for the Arizona Cardinals. Look out for the Kansas City Chiefs. My gosh, they are doing things in free agency that lends you to believe that they are ready to contend in the AFC. Now, look, you don't win games in the offseason. But I tell you what, you take steps to winning games in the offseason. And the Chiefs, I've said this before, are looking like a team that's trying to turn this thing around overnight. They're not trying to make this into a long, drawn-out process of getting back to respectability in the AFC West and potentially in the AFC. They're trying to take the leap of faith from bottom feeders in the AFC West to division winner in a season. And they've taken all the steps, they've made all the right moves to do just that. I love what Kansas City Chiefs are doing. And this is another move in a long list of moves that have the Kansas City Chiefs believing that they can play some really good football in the 2013 season. So now, we've talked about the Lions, we talked about the Colts, we talked about the Chiefs, we talked about the Bucs. Let's talk about some other teams that went out and made some moves, some quiet moves. And then we'll get to the big headliner of the day at the back half of the show. Let's talk about the Titans. They went out and got them a running back, and I thought this was necessary. Chris Johnson has been talking about how he doesn't need a backup in Tennessee. Hogwash. Every team in the league needs a two-back system. You can't take guys and run them into the ground anymore. If you do that, you shorten the shelf life of your running back. And at the end of the season, when you really need that guy to perform for you, he's exhausted. He's tired. You give a guy the ball 330 times, by the time the postseason rolls around, if you're fortunate enough to make it, that guy is exhausted. He's taking a pounding. And the running back position is one of the hardest positions on the body in the league because they take a pounding. And so they went out and got Sean Green. I thought that was a really sound move by the Tennessee Titans. Here's a guy that can come in, take some of those carries away from Chris Johnson, be a muscle in that backfield, maybe give them a thunder and lightning type of approach where Chris Johnson is the guy that's bouncing it outside and hitting for the big yardage, and Sean Green is the guy in between the tackles doing the dirty work. And so the Titans finally have a formidable backfield. Haven't had one since the days of Lindell White and Chris Johnson. And so this is a very refreshing signing for the Tennessee Titans. They really needed to do that, and they got their man. So you look at another team that went out in free agency. Arizona Cardinals went out and got Rashard Mendenhall while we're on the topic of running backs. And look, Rashard Mendenhall really didn't finish his tenure in Pittsburgh the way he would have liked. Injuries kind of marred his performance. He started to fumble the football a little bit. The Steelers really weren't happy with his production, and so he really didn't play in Pittsburgh in the 2012 season. Coming off of that ACL tear, you knew it was going to be a dicey situation, and so he found his way out of Pittsburgh. Now he's in Arizona, a team starving for some running back production. Now look, at first I didn't know how I felt about this signing, but then I had to remind myself that the Cardinals let go of Beanie Wells, and so there is space in that backfield for a guy to come in and tote the rock. Ryan Williams is a guy that has proven thus far in his career that he can't stay healthy. So who's not to say that Rashard Mendenhall won't be your number one guy in that backfield? But he only signed a one-year deal. It's a prove-it deal. What do you have? What can you bring to the table? And so we're going to see what Rashard Mendenhall does have left. And he's a relatively young guy, but he's one of those guys that it seems like his game will not age well. If he can't run the football effectively between the tackles, because the speed was never that big part of his game. And so Can he still get it done between the tackles? Can he show a flash of speed like he did in Pittsburgh? We'll see. But Ryan Williams needs to get healthy. If he can't stay healthy, Rashard Mendenhall might end up being your primary ball carrier. And I don't know if the Cardinals signed him with the intentions of him being their number one ball carrier, but it seems like he's going to play an integral part in that backfield for the Arizona Cardinals. Now you look at the Chargers. Here's a move that I think was necessary. With Anton Kayson looking like he's not going to be back, Quentin Jammer probably not going to be back, you're going to need some guys to play the corner position. And you need a number one corner, let's face it. Anton Kayson not being there, Quentin Jammer not being there, you need a number one corner. And they addressed that in the form of Derek Cox. It came him to a 4-year, $20 million deal. Huge move for the San Diego Chargers. Getting a guy, and they didn't overpay for Derek Cox. I think that's a perfect price to pay for Derek Cox. That leads me to believe that Sean Smith is asking for more money than teams would like to pay him. Because this is a $5 million a year deal for Derek Cox, who I think is a very solid corner, a very young and up-and-coming corner if he can just stay healthy. I thought he played some really good football out in Jacksonville. He had his moments where he shined. He had his moments where he didn't play as good as you would like him to play. But again, that's all in the maturation of a young corner. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. But I think he's got immense talent. I think he's a guy that's going to come in and solidify the corner position for the San Diego Chargers if he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, the Chargers have a bona fide number one in the form of Derek Cox. A big move for the Chargers, getting Derek Cox in the fold in San Diego. I think that's a huge signing for the Chargers in a division that is starting to become very talented out at the wide receiver position. You got Dwayne Bowe in Kansas City. You got Decker and Demaryius Thomas in Denver. And so you've got to be able to cover wide receivers. And so this is a huge move for the San Diego Chargers, getting a number one cornerback in Derek Cox. So while we're on the topic of corners, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie is going to end up being in Denver. Now, he signed a short deal with the Denver Broncos. But again, the Broncos need corner help. We saw the fiasco that transpired in the divisional round of the playoffs, losing them that game. Guys not stepping up at the cornerback position, at the safety position. And so he's going to come in and help. Again, the Broncos, to me, weren't that bad at the cornerback, at the safety position. They just had a bad game. And when you're on that big stage and you don't perform, the perception is you're really bad. But let's not forget the Broncos were in the top 5 in defense, right around. Don't forget the Broncos were right around the upper echelon in defense in the 2012 regular season. And so, look, this secondary wasn't all bad. And they have some guys out there that can play. I like what they're doing. I think this just adds to the mix what they can do defensively. What the Broncos really need to do is figure out what's going on with Elvis Dumervil. They need to fix this problem. This is a guy that got you 10.5, 11 sacks last season. He's a guy that's ultra productive, has done nothing but be productive for you since joining your team. And you can't lose Elvis Dumervil. You can't. You got Von Miller on one side, Elvis on the other. You can't afford to have that guy not in the fold. You need to figure out what's going wrong there. Get on the same page. Stop trying to lowball Elvis Dumervil. Give him his money. Do not ask this man to take a pay cut. He's been working with you. Keep him in the fold. I don't know what you have to do. I don't know where your signals and wires got crossed. Fix it. Because you need him. Because the reason why your secondary was so effective in the regular season was because guys like him and Von Miller were getting to the quarterback. When they didn't get to the quarterback in the playoffs against the Ravens, you saw what happened. You saw the byproduct of that. Elvis Dumervil is a key cog in what you're doing in Denver. You need to keep him right where he is in Denver. And I think Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie is going to help you out in that secondary. Another nice move by the Denver Broncos. John Elway quietly is really building himself into a heck of an executive in that front office in Denver. So now you look at a team that hadn't made any moves other than a trade in free agency, and now they made their first big free agent signing of the offseason, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. Here's a team that looks like they're ready to contend in 2013, and the Percy Harvin move was huge for them offensively, but they needed to show up this defense some more. Look, this was a very aggressive defense in the 2012 season, a very high-energy, high-octane defense. But with Chris Clemens tearing his ACL, you don't know what you're getting at defensive end. You need more pressure on the quarterback. Bruce Irvin is a guy that's a rotational depth guy right now. He hasn't really assumed that starter's role quite yet, and I don't know if he ever will because he's not an overly big guy. He doesn't have a lot of weight to him, so I don't know if he can be as aggressive in the run game as you would like. But the Seattle Seahawks took care of some of that with another guy that can get after the quarterback. And I was waiting for this shoe to drop. Cliff Avril finally signs a deal with the Seattle Seahawks. I think he really overvalued himself, and he's probably kicking himself right now because the Lions offered him a 3-year, $30 million deal last year. He turned it down and thought that he was worth more. And again, he was talking about Super Mario money, which is asinine for a guy who's never had over 10.5 sacks in his career. So I didn't know where that was coming from, but he asked the Detroit Lions for more money. They turned him down. He went out on the market, and he was only able to net a $15 million deal over 2 years. So you're talking about essentially $7.5 million per season, which is a lot less than what the Lions were offering him. And so he really shot himself in the foot, but he's found a home in Seattle. Let's see if he can produce and maybe parlay this into a big deal for himself down the road. We'll see. But Cliff Avril is now in Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks are turning into a dangerous team. They were already dangerous. Dangerous. Get it? Dangerous. Now they're becoming even more of a contender with a guy like Cliff Avril coming into the fold on the defensive line, helping them get more pressure on the quarterback. So now let's turn our attention to the big news of the day. And this was the back and forth thing. This was the whole big news of the day, the big topic story, and the huge news coming into free agency was what were the Patriots going to do with Wes Welker. This thing had gotten ugly. They were dragging each other in the mud. It just didn't seem like something that was going to have a happily ever after ending, and it did not, as the Patriots allowed Wes Welker to walk away. He goes to Denver, signs a 2-year contract worth $12 million, so essentially $6 million per year. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as he does that, the Patriots counter by going out and getting Danny Amendola. And who didn't see this one coming? And they signed him, and wouldn't you know it, they gave him more money per season than Wes Welker, which kind of throws a little bit of salt in the wounds. And they did that on purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing, inking Amendola to a 5-year, $23 million deal, so essentially about $6.2 million per year. If you're Wes Welker, it makes you sick to your stomach to see the Patriots operate business like that. Again, that's the Patriot way, and the Patriots love to lowball guys, and Tom Brady can't be happy about this, but at the end of the day, he'll be fine. He knows what the Patriots are about, and this was a very not mind-boggling move, but when you look at the difference in what the Patriots are offering Wes Welker, you couldn't offer him $2 more million. The report is they offered Welker a 2-year, $10 million deal. You couldn't pony up $2 more million to sign Wes Welker. Are you that frugal? Are you that stuck in your ways that you wanted to have a hardline stance and not pay Wes Welker? Take care of your own. And it seems like the Patriots have a problem doing that. And that's starting to rub players the wrong way. And again, I said this is going to really start to affect guys wanting to sign with New England because you're not going to be taken care of at the end of the day. Why is Aqib Talib not signed yet? If you value him so much, why is he still on the market? And so I don't understand sometimes what the Patriots are doing. Now, this move for Amendola is a solid move. You're getting a Wes Welker clone. He's not as good as Wes Welker in my estimation, and I'll tell you why. He's faster, he's quicker, he's younger. Those are all great things for the Patriots, all things that you value in Danny Amendola. He's very, very tailor-made for the slot. This is a guy that gets in and out of his breaks quick. He catches the ball cleanly. He snatches it out of the air. He gets up the field. He's faster than Welker. He's quicker than Welker. But Wes Welker is a crafty veteran that knows how to get open. He knows this offense like the back of his hand. Him and Tom Brady make beautiful music together. They're in sync. He knows how to get open. Amendola is a guy, though, and this is what my concern is a guy that doesn't stay healthy. He doesn't play 16 games in a season. Wes Welker is a guy that plays 14, 15, 16 games every year. He's going to catch you 116 balls every season. Who else has 5 seasons of 100-plus catches or more in a season? Danny Amendola has not even came close to approaching that kind of milestone in his career. And so you have to look at Danny Amendola's body of work and say, hey, he's got a lot of work to do. New England is going to ask a lot of him. Will he be up for the challenge? Because this is a guy that doesn't stay healthy. He's not going to play 16 games for you. I can assure you of that. And so now you have to ask yourself, did you make a mistake? We're going to find out. But this is what the Patriots do. They don't make an offer to Welker that satisfies his needs. They go out and they go get Danny Amendola to stick it to Welker, and that's what the Patriots do. And so it's very frustrating if you're a Patriots fan because this was so unnecessary. You could have just forked over $2 more million and kept Wes Welker, and everyone's happy. Instead, you go out and get Danny Amendola. And look, in the long run, this may be the better move. Who knows? 2020 is hindsight. And so right now, we can't say what the better move is. But if you're a Patriots fan, you have to be sick and tired of the Patriots doing things like this. If you're Tom Brady, you have a guy that you've built continuity with, you're comfortable with. You just want your stuff back sometimes at the end of the day. I just want my guy back. I don't want to have to forge a new bond, new continuity with a guy. I just want my guy back. Look, Tom Brady's 35 years old. He's no spring chicken. He doesn't want to have to do this thing all over again. And how many times have the Patriots asked him to re-establish new continuity with another guy? He probably won't have Brandon Lloyd back. Look, he's still going to have Gronkowski. He's still going to have Hernandez. But look, I'm at the later stages of my career. I don't want to keep having to re-teach guys how to run this offense. I don't want to have to start learning guys all over again. I don't want to have to keep doing this every year. And so the Patriots should have kept that thing going, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Amendola is a Wes Welker clone. Can he stay healthy? If he picks up the offense quickly, he'll be fine. The Patriots will be fine. But this was so unnecessary. And at the end of the day, that's my biggest complaint is this was so unnecessary. This didn't have to go down this way, but it did. And I think everyone involved got their man. Everyone's happy. So it is what it is. I think the Broncos, they had a really good day two. They got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. They got Wes Welker in the slot. They look like the best team in the AFC right now, hands down, to me. If they can just go out and execute better on the defensive side of football, they're going to be a tough team to stop. And the Patriots, maybe this move was for the best. We'll see. Again, you don't really know right now. Looking at the move from the outside looking in, it just was so unnecessary. And Brady's probably upset. He'll get over it. But if you're Tom Brady, this eats away at the fabric of trust that you have for this franchise because you thought in good faith they'll bring Wes back. And they didn't. And so it has to make you upset, but he'll move on. He'll be okay. And everything will be smooth over in the long run. But tell you what, this has got to be frustrating if you're a Patriots fan, if you're Tom Brady. But that's the way it is in New England. That's the Patriot way. And so I think day two for me, it wasn't so much about the signings. It was more about the guys that weren't signed. The Greg Jennings, the Sean Smiths, who are still available on the market. They seem to have priced themselves out of the market, and if they're not careful, this money will dry up. They need to be guys that are looking to get deals in the next couple of days because if they don't, the money will really dry up, and then they really will have to sign, in Sean Smith's case, a one-year deal, a one-year prove-it deal with somebody. Who wants to do that? If you're Greg Jennings, you're going to end up going back to Green Bay in the long run. That's what it looks like right now. And then you hear about Urlacher potentially having suitors like Minnesota and Dallas, and you're like, could Urlacher really not be back in Chicago? Nah, he'll be back in Chicago. He's got to be back in Chicago, right? I mean, I know he realizes his value isn't what it once was, and I know the Bears don't want to overpay for him. They've got to reach some kind of common ground. He's a Bear. He needs to be a Bear for life. He needs to finish his career in Chicago. I expect him to do that, but to me, that was the most telling thing of day two, not seeing certain guys being signed. But a lot of teams bettered their team in day two. We'll see how this thing continues to progress over the rest of the week. And so that's it, basically, for day two in the market. I thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to the page if you haven't already done so. And, buyer beware. I continue to tell you this. Be careful because what you're getting in the market may not be what you think you're getting from the market. And again, straight cash, homie, in the great words of Randy Moss. Straight cash, homie. No checks in this market. And so whatever you pay for, it's your merchandise. Take care of it. Hopefully you get what you think you're getting from this merchandise. But again, make sure you get what you pay for because you can't return this stuff to the store. There is no return policy. There is no bringing your merchandise back and getting your money back. Be careful. Buyer beware. But that's it for day 2 in the market. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good one.
The market